Hit Season 2.
You could see it on his face. He's like, oh man, that was a rough one. I almost threw that one away. Thankfully, he was able to take that win. Guys, we're going to jump into game number 2 now on Dust Towers.
You can call me an alien and a superstitious man, but I'm flipping the pages, rattling cages in the Asian man.
Welcome to Dust Towers, everybody's favorite map, of course. And up here in the top right in the red, the Protoss player from KT taking that last game. It is Stats.
And down here at the bottom in blue, it is Bomber. Taking an early lead there with good control in the early game versus some of Stats' questionable decision making defending that third base. So we're now going into the most standard map of them all. Now, everything I talk about on this map, of course, goes back to the horseshoe that exists.
We should just call it Wolf's Horseshoe by now. I mean, you kind of created that term and we all have been using it, so I think it's Wolf's Horseshoe.
It basically is, okay?
It sounds like some philosophical, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Theory, Wolf's Horseshoe.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna be like a wiki article about it in 20 years when people start using it to describe even more opportunity costs and other decision making you have to do and Murphy's Law type stuff. But anyway, the horseshoe, just to describe it to you guys for those who might not have heard me talk about it before, is basically when you see the bottom left of the mini map right now, the bottom left of your screen, the third base and the main, there's airspace between those that drops can use to harass. A ground-based army with no air defense will have to walk in a U-shaped horseshoe up a ramp and then down a ramp to defend. By the time you get back to your third base or your backdoor base, the drop picks up and goes to your third. And then if you want to walk back, you have to walk in that same U-shaped formation, and it takes a long time. So you need, mostly Protoss use Void Rays for this, you need some sort of air defense to deal with that Terran pressure, which is so strong on this map. It's very easy for a Protoss to take a third base and then use that tech to take a fourth as well. So I think this map, personally, if you can't get harassment done, is a very Protoss favored map. You see a Stats fan here.
You said he'd been attending for 7 years, that guy? That's a true fan. Oh, okay, the first time he came to the match after 7 years. Okay, that's the real translation. Got that from our PD. Robotics facility coming down here.
This is interesting. This is pretty risky, what he's doing, but perhaps he's learned, he's gotten some information, perhaps insider or leaked info, that Bomber is liking to go triple CC on this map, which Bomber actually in the past was famous for doing this versus Protoss, even back in Wings of Liberty on larger maps like Terminus Re, and even more medium tier maps like Whirlwind, he would do this versus Protoss players a lot. So perhaps Stats is just assuming that he's not going to take the harassment route as players like Reality would do, or Reality would do a more ground-based push. He's just going to assume that he's going for a greedier build, and we'll try to punish it. Let's see what comes down next here. A Prism. It looks like it's just going to be a very quick Adept drop into probably an Immortal pressure attack that could end up being an all-in depending on how much damage the Adept drop does.
Yeah, we've seen this before. It's a very strong build, especially against triple CC. So we'll see if Bomber can identify this as coming and how he does handle this.
This is so funny because it's just, if you don't deal with that, you're going to lose your depot. And if you lower the depot, he's going to scout you. It's so difficult to deal with if your Marines are predisposed outside. Wow, an Immortal quickly here, very quickly in fact. There's the gateway. 3 gates in fact, so it's going to be a 4 gateway timing. Wow.
Yeah, so not going to be 100% all in here. Of course, he is still making probes back at home, but it's going to be a very strong pressure, most likely at the front with those Immortals. And he is going to go for the Adept drop first, as you were saying.
Yep, this is to get a tempo advantage, so that's harder for Bomber to produce units on the defense. So the longer the game goes on, it's just tougher for him to actually have enough stuff. 5 gates in total he's committing to.
Okay, so this may actually be an all-in. That's going to be a 7-gate robotics proxy all-in here on this map.
And you know what? versus this many Marines, I think he should actually be fighting the Marines, but it's too late now. Okay, being a bit indecisive there. One of the things you can do with this kind of drop is if you kill Marines instead of SCVs, it forces him to move, of course, to the rest of his army down, but it means he has less units for the defense. If you kill SCVs, obviously that still hurts the reinforcing power. You could even block this. Oh, did not.
Yeah, this, thankfully for Bomber, at least, he is going to have stim pretty quickly because the follow-up he went for was the double racks with the faster infantry upgrades and the double drop. But it's still going to be a hard hold, don't get me wrong. At least he will have the stim, but no bunkers.
And no combat shields, which means the Marines will die so much faster with the adept attacks. And that's the issue here. It's so many adepts. And this wall isn't going to last very long. I guarantee you that. Actually, it's going to already go ahead and appreciate in. This looks like an impossible hold for Bomber. There are more adepts than there are Marines.
He's going to split and commit. The Immortals, they didn't fully come in, and one does get surrounded here. With the Warp Prism, he can micro that a bit, but this is still a lot of Marines, and I'm not sure if he should have committed to that.
Late micro on the Immortal, not saving it there, making a miscontrol, really costing him big. The Immortal also getting surrounded, and he didn't target it right away, so it spent like 3 of its first shots shooting SCVs instead of Marines. And Bomber is so confident he even lands the CC. What he doesn't know, though, is this is an 8 gateway attack. Stim, of course, every time he uses it, it's going to make his units more vulnerable to the adepts. But he's actually on the chase here. Can he get that prism? He's going for it! He's going for the prism!
And he gets it!
That's the cancel! This will stop the attack!
And there is a warp in here, but it's very, very slow at that pylon. And this is just going to be way too much bio, and this is going to be totally shut down. GG! Bomber taking the win.
Getting that Warp Prism was literally game-ending. If he had been a little bit further back, or if Bomber had not been confident enough to target that down, could have been a totally different situation. 7 more adepts come in, or 8 more. I'm not even sure if he was 7 or 8 he was warping there, but okay, a lot more adepts come in, 7 or 8 more. Then he pushes the advantage that he has in army at that moment. Bomber has to back off, probably pick up his Marines, might have to lift his third base, and go into a totally different situation. Killing that Warp Prism, stopping that warp in gives Bomber just enough. He has the critical mass to win that fight.
And I feel like Gumio's watching this right now, and he's like, wow, I am getting out of here in first place super easily, because I feel like, you know, stats, it is kind of tailored, I feel like, what he's doing right now for this series, for sure, but I feel like he's not taking it seriously. And if you come into any kind of match in Korea, Bomber's still a fantastic player. You know, we don't put him down, but we compare him to players like Stats because Stats is a lot better, right? He has more results recently, but if you come in here and you do builds like that and you're not perfectly microing, a player like Bomber can easily take games off of you.
Yeah, I feel like if I had to guess, if I had to kind of take a little theory crafting moment here, I feel like he's reading the group incorrectly. Because he's thinking this was going to be